It is the return of international football, the European Championship qualifiers. A real cracker in store today from the Stade de France in Saint-Denis. Which team will come out on top? Tune in and find out. Yes, people, welcome once again to the Coach's Corner, and you are in the company of me, Manny Thangadurai. Say it like you spell it like you say it. That's what I tell people in case they can't pronounce my name, or just stick with the first one. Easy to remember. Now, of course, we've got a huge treat for you tonight, and this is it. France versus the Netherlands, a Euro 2024 qualifying game, live from the iconic Stade de France in Saint-Denis in the French capital. Of course, the scene of the 1998 World Cup final and the Euro 2016 final, both of which, of course, both of which featured France as one of the teams. But while they won the 98 World Cup, they sadly came up just short in 2016 to a CR7 inspired Portugal, although of course CR7 wasn't on the field when they played. And of course, we've got the sort of a build up to this. I mean, not so much a build up, but definitely a description. It's the first competitive match for the World Cup runners up, and a much changed team with a few old and new faces and a new captain in Kylian Mbappe himself, the star of the 2002 World Cup final, who sadly was on the losing side despite becoming only the second person to score a hat-trick. And this is also going to be a changed Holland team with a few key players absent under Ronald Koeman, while Didier Deschamps, of course, keeps his job. Now, both teams, of course, have quite a bit in common. They both faced Argentina in the World Cup and lost to them on penalties. They actually, of course, were down 2-0 on both occasions, but fought back magnificently to take the game into extra time and in penalties. But when it came to the issue of penalties, there was really only one person who ended up on top, and it was this guy. Brilliant saves in both the quarterfinal against the Netherlands and the final against the French, deservedly winning the best goalkeeper of the tournament award, although some people will say otherwise. Me, no issues with that, of course. And of course, I did mention that there's going to be a much changed team. And obviously, the French team have had a few retirements since that tournament, with then captain Hugo Lloris and Raphael Varane announcing their retirements from international football. Varane was, of course, supposed to captain the team, but he ended up deciding to retire because his body couldn't handle it anymore. So Mbappe has been named the new captain, with Antoine Griezmann the vice captain. And there are some new faces in the team, including the AC Milan goalkeeper Mike Maignan, who will be rewarded for his excellent performances with the Rossoneri. The Netherlands, of course, have changed their goalkeeper, with all three of the World Cup keepers absent. And we will go into detail, but it is time for the anthems. Time to Wilhelminus von Nassau and La Marseillaise, I should say. And I'll tell you one thing: when you listen to the French anthem in Saint-Denis or anywhere in France, you can see with a capacity crowd singing along, you do not need the music. And so, sadly, BBC Sport is not really showing much coverage of the match, but I will definitely give you the team news. And of course, I was about to talk about the much changed squads, but instead, I've got the team news right here, courtesy of Google Sports. And here's the home team. As expected, Mike Maignan starts in goal as a 4-2-3-1. Aurelien Chouameni and Adrien Rabiot are the two defensive midfielders, as in the World Cup final. Kingsley Coman, Antoine Griezmann, Kylian Mbappe, the attacking midfielders. And although Olivier Giroud it is Randal Kolo Muani of Eintracht Frankfurt, who so very nearly, of course, won it for France, only for a certain Emiliano Martinez to come up with a top-class save. Theo Hernandez, Dayot Upamecano, Ibrahim Konate, and Jules Koundé formed the defense, and of course, Maignan rewarded for his brilliant performances with the Rossoneri of AC Milan. And this is the Dutch team. It's not quite the 5-3-2 that was used in the World Cup with Denzel Dumfries and Daley Blind running like the wind down the wings. Instead, the coach, Koeman, has opted for a 4-3-3 with Jurrien Timber, Geertruida, Virgil van Dijk, and Nathan Ake, the back four. Ake playing as a left back, which is a bit of a surprise. Former captain Jorginho Wijnaldum, Martin de Roon, and Kenneth Taylor are the three men in the midfield. Memphis Depay in the centre up front, along with Xavi Simons on the left and Steven Berghaus on the right. So certainly a very interesting selection, obviously opting to distance himself from the tactics of his predecessor, Louis van Gaal. And of course, it is a return to the Dutch goal for Jasper Cillessen, who was, of course, first choice for the Dutch in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, except for the penalties where Tim Krul was given his chance. And he missed out on Euro 2020 due to COVID and was a surprise omission by Van Gaal for the Qatar World Cup. But, and it looks as though it's a moment of silence, I think. So yes, actually, minutes of applause to mark the sad passing of two giants of French football, Claude Simonet and Just Fontaine, who passed away earlier this year. And so it was wonderful to see both the national teams of France and the Netherlands come together in the center circle to pay their respects to the two departed players. Two departed figures of French football. We got some comments. Chelsea fan, big up, Manny. Big up to you as well, mate. Keep hitting at the like button. Should be a good game. Hope you're looking forward to it, and I'm happy to be bringing it to you. And of course, this is what we've got here: France versus the Netherlands from the Stade de France in Saint-Denis. We should be having Hanno maybe joining us later on, but until then, you're in the company of me. And it will be the Netherlands attacking from right to left, France from left to right in a change strip of white shirts and blue shorts. Bit of a surprise. Maybe they didn't want to wear too dark a color. But we will be underway. It is Memphis Depay who passes it all the way back, passes it back, and it is Geertruida who passes it to Virgil van Dijk. And the Dutch are going to try to build a little bit slowly from the back here. I don't know too much about Geertruida. I'm going to have to sort of do a little bit of research on him. Certainly an unknown name. And a back pass to the veteran goalkeeper, Cillessen. And they will continue to keep playing. Very cage. I wouldn't say a cagey sort of beginning, but certainly a slow build up. Ake back to Geertruida. It is Lutcherel Geertruida from Feyenoord who is actually making his debut tonight. Daley Blind is, of course, in the squad and is in line to win his 100th cap if he comes off the bench. And it is Martin de Roon, the number 15, who passes it to Nathan Ake. De Roon, another of the key players under Van Gaal in Qatar. And it's all the way out to Jurien Timber, who was one of the three centre-backs in that typical Dutch team with Dumfries and Blind on the right and left, respectively. Now, both Dumfries and Blind are in the squad, but I think it will remain to be seen whether Koeman opts to use them as wingers as opposed to just wing backs. And it's still in and amongst the Dutch defence at the moment. Still plenty of touches for Sillerson in his return to the Oranje. Van Dijk. And that is Taylor. And it's been intercepted. It is with the French captain Mbappe, but some excellent work there from Taylor, and that goes begging. And the Dutch can now try and play away. But it is with Kolo Muani now, a poor attempted clearance there. Mbappe to Griezmann, and France are 1-0 up in 2 minutes. Well, there was some talk about whether or not Antoine Griezmann would be happy to play as the vice captain under the less experienced Mbappe. But Mbappe has, of course, sought to assure Griezmann that he is still very much a part of the plans. And boy, has Griezmann responded. Some pretty poor defensive play from the Dutch, not what Koeman would want. Taylor had done some brilliant work. Actually, Griezmann deserves credit there for sort of upsetting the balance of Taylor. Kolo Muani passing it to Mbappe. Mbappe laying it on a plate for Griezmann. And I think it's fair to say that although Sillerson was a little bit late in trying to dive for that, it was past him pretty much before he could even reach it. I think it's fair to say that he was unsighted by both his skipper and Kolo Muani in front of him. But in any case, the French are ahead. Griezmann with his pink hair. I think it's fair to say that had he been captain, he wouldn't have considered dyeing his hair that color. Has put the Netherlands 1-0 behind and the French 1-0 ahead with not even 2 minutes on the clock. It is France 1, the Netherlands 0. And of course, it is 3 minutes that have just elapsed, and the Netherlands are going to have to do some work here. Van Dijk to Ake. And we see Koeman trying to make a bit of a nuisance of himself and succeeding to an extent, but the Netherlands can break. Timber has gone up to the front, and the Dutch do manage to win a corner with some pretty good work there from the number 4 Upamecano of Bayern Munich. And Steven Berghuis will have a big role to play. He and Xavi Simons will be expected to support Depay up front. Depay also having had a terrific World Cup. There is no Cody Gakpo in the team. Fitness concerns have ruled him out of this game. Depay with the corner, right-footed in-swinger. And Simons with an ambitious attempt there, which never really was going to trouble anyone. And Mike Maignan will now have his first touch as France's first-choice goalkeeper. Wearing the number 16 today, a little bit like Fabien Barthez famously did. And that's probably because he wears the 16 at Milan. The number 1 is Bryce Samba, who was, of course, with Nottingham Forest and has since moved back to France and is now playing back in Ligue 1. And Alphonse Areola, who was, of course, the second reserve goalkeeper to both Hugo Lloris and Steve Mandanda, both of whom have since retired from Les Bleus, is still in the squad as what one assume would be the... he might possibly be the number 2 behind Maignan. And Samba, of course, uncapped, is expected to be an understudy to both of them. And the Dutch have got a lot of work to do. The French certainly have a very well-drilled system. Nathan Ake, who's been used as more of a left-back by Pep Guardiola at Manchester City ever since the decision to let João Cancelo go to Bayern Munich. where, of course, he is playing with the likes of Ryan Gravenberch and Upamecano himself, and that'll be a French free kick. The Dutch trying to get themselves stuck in, and obviously taken aback by that early goal. They do have a lot of work to be done. Ronald Koeman, of course, a legendary player for the Oranje back in the 80s and 90s. And I don't believe this is the first time he's coached the Dutch team before. He was, of course, the assistant coach back in 97 and 98. And that is Kolo Muani coming up down the left, but some excellent work there by Geertruida to sort of impede his progress. But he has impeded Muani now with a pretty poor tackle, and that will be a free kick in a pretty dangerous area there. Celessen, the veteran, beaten within 2 minutes of his comeback to the Oranje, now organizing his defenders, telling them where they need to be. Very unexpected, of course, given that Andres Noppert, of course, was injured, and there is no room for Remco Pasveer or Justin Bijlo either. So certainly some changes in the Dutch squad, and a few eye-opening ones indeed. And it will be Antoine Griezmann, he of the pink hair, the white jersey, and the blue shorts, to take this free kick. Left-footed swinging in. And just like that, that is the second goal. And it is Upamecano who has put France 2-0 ahead. And I think it has to be said that Jasper Cillessen has not covered himself with glory there. Inside 8 minutes, the Dutch are in a huge spot of bother. Beautifully swinging in free kick. Cillessen caught in two minds, not really able to catch that, not really inspiring much confidence in his defenders there. And seriously, yeah, you've got to make sure your hands are a lot more active. Ake sort of running back, trying to, and it actually went through his legs, in fact. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say that Cillessen really will look back on that and not really be happy with that at all. And so within 8 minutes, it is France 2, Netherlands 0. And I was just saying that this isn't the first time that Ronald Koeman has managed the Netherlands. He was the assistant back in 97-98, round about the time they played in France 98 under Guus Hiddink. He managed them for the first time from 2018 to 2020, and of course was the manager for their Euro 2020 campaign. And then went to Barcelona for a year, didn't really work out, and now he is back managing the Oranje after the departure of Louis van Gaal. And they've won a corner, which they've taken quite quickly. It was a short corner, but the French defense are up to it. But a very inauspicious beginning, and I think Jasper Cillessen has sort of betrayed the air of a man who probably believes that international football has, in fact, passed him by. The other two goalkeepers in the squad are Mark Flekken and number 13. And a confident claim by the AC Milan goalkeeper, Maignan there. Certainly no shortage of Dutch enterprise in attack, but no real quality there in the final third. And it is Mark Flekken and Kjell Scherpen. Flekken is, of course, with SC Freiburg, and Scherpen is with Vitesse Arnhem. And Van Dijk has to do a lot of tidying up there. Kolo Muani and Mbappe have made some really big nuisances of themselves. And, of course, with Deschamps wanting to start a new era, it means that a large number of the older group of players might not get to feature very much in his plans. Giroud, of course, is on the bench. And there are several other players like Presnel Kimpembe, Christopher Nkunku, but, well, that was actually Steven Berghaus, who had somehow managed to get into the French penalty area. Brilliant pass from Nathan Ake, but not very well controlled. And Theo Hernandez, probably the best left back in the World Cup. was able to come back and shepherd it through to Manyan, who exuded the authority. But Ake's making a bit of a nuisance of himself. He's not really a left back by trade. He is more of a centre back, but certainly with his left foot, he can certainly thread a decent pass. I don't know if he necessarily is able to quite overlap so much as cut into the midfield. So whoever plays on the left will have a bit of, will certainly have his work cut out. But of course, when you've got Kylian Mbappe on the left, you don't really have too much of a problem. Ake to Taylor, back to Ake. And it is with Kenneth Taylor now, who obviously started his career with the Ajax youth team and is now playing with the team. One would assume that he has some British/Irish heritage. And it is with Upamecano, who passes it to Theo Hernandez now. And that is back with Upamecano. Ibrahim Konate passes it to Coman. It is now with Koundé. And I think that was Kolo Muani who tried to make a pass over there, but not very effective. And Nathan Ake throws it back to Celessen, who now has a lot of work to do to try to redeem himself for conceding twice in the opening 8 minutes. And you can see just what a nuisance Kolo Muani is for the Dutch, and how, obviously, as long as he is still in the Dutch half, the defense and the midfield simply cannot relax. And so it's played among Van Dijk, Ake, and Geertruida. Timber is, of course, out on right back. Normally, you would see Denzel Dumfries at right wing back, but instead it is Yuri and Timber. Passes it back to Cillessen. Van Dijk. Geertruida. And that is Taylor. Ake. Taylor again. And so he's got Griezmann and Moani in front of him. So obviously more back passing is really all the Dutch can do right now. They're struggling to look for an opening, but they have found a few, only to find the French defense still in world-beating form. Timber. Geertruida. And now Virgil van Dijk, the captain. Nathan Ake of Manchester City. Simons. That is Taylor, back to Ake. And it is Geertruida again. And that is with Simons, who I think has come back. No, that's not Simons. That is Simons right now on the left wing, who tries to get in past Koundé, but Koundé is able to read the danger perfectly. Of course, Koundé didn't really cover himself with glory in the World Cup final when Angel Di Maria had a field day against him in what was an inspired selection by Lionel Scaloni. Just such a shame that Di Maria had to go off long before the match was over. And that will be a France throw, better a throw than a goal kick as far as the Dutch are concerned, because they're still swarming about in numbers. Hernandez with the throw, but that is intercepted, and we've got some head tennis going on here. Simons controlling it well. It's in the French penalty area, but easily blocked by the France defense, and they can move away. Rabiot, Upamecano. Upamecano to Griezmann. And De Roon at the moment is the one who is trying to do a job in defense, but not doing it very successfully. And that will be a French free kick taken short and sweet. Back to Upamecano. And Tchouaméni, of course, will definitely have a big role to play alongside Rabiot, just as he did during their campaign in Cannes. Van Dijk to De Roon. Geertruida. Taylor. Van Dijk. Ake. And you can see defending, forcing the Dutch to try and thread some passes elsewhere and try and pass back amongst themselves. And the former captain, Wijnaldum, not able to retrieve that pass straight to Mike Maignan. Some interesting names on the French bench, of course. Benjamin Pavard, who was France's star right back in 2018 in Russia, was benched during the tournament, is on the bench here. There's Kolo Muani, straight to Coman. Great defending there from Nathan Ake. And Timber can try and clear. And a Dutch free kick is awarded. And now you can see the Dutch are wide awake. Muani evading Timber, but Ake saying, not today, Kingsley. Geertruida. Van Dijk. And that is Taylor. Geertruida. Van Dijk. Depay. Back to Van Dijk. Geertruida again. And De Roon now having to play a fairly important role as a more defensive midfielder as opposed to being just one of the middle three. A brilliant pass there from Van Dijk. Simons. Depay had retrieved that perfectly. But the Dutch are still having to struggle to get something through. Depay to Simons on the left. Simons versus Koundé. Simons with the cross to the penalty area, easily retrieved, but the Dutch win it back. It is Kenneth Taylor up against Rabiot. And oh, what a... Well, Gini Wijnaldum and his return to the team had a chance to make himself a hero, but that was as horrible a miscue as you could get. Another terrific pass, though, from... was received by Taylor, and Taylor did, in fact, whip it into the penalty area, but headed away. And it is a Dutch throw. And Wijnaldum, back in the Dutch squad, trying to make himself useful. And Taylor probably running out of steam there, popping that behind. But some brilliant work there from Taylor, and you can see that miscue from Wijnaldum. That is the kick of a player who has quite simply been out of the game for far too long. And, well, Van Dijk has been able to win that ball, and the Dutch can, in fact, try and work something here. And it's sort of a fact that every time the Dutch have gotten the ball, the French defense has been very aggressive, sort of in their face, and not really permitted them to go too far forward. And so the Dutch have had to work really hard, as I've said, to try to thread a few passes through. And obviously, as defensive midfielders, Adrien Rabiot and Aurélien Tchouameni have been nothing short of outstanding. Timber. Timber versus Mbappe. And Timber's held his own. And that is in the French penalty area. A hurried back pass, but then a shot. And that was never really going to trouble Mike Maignan. But Wijnaldum, once again, getting in the thick of the action. Beautiful little back-heeled sort of layup there, as it were, by Depay. But Wijnaldum not really able to take advantage of that. And, of course, on the bench, the Dutch do have Wout Weghorst, of course, at Manchester United. It was his 2 goals which sent the quarterfinal tie against the Netherlands to extra time after coming on as a substitute. Davy Klaassen is another one who could come on and lend some bite. And, of course, Daley Blind. And sadly, there is no Denzel Dumfries in the squad. I think he was a late withdrawal. So Ryan Gravenberch is certainly one who can come on later. But at the moment, the Dutch are going to have to do some defending. Griezmann trying to go through, but the Dutch have held firm. Simons now. Through to Nathan Ake, who's managed to cut into the midfield. A little bit like Alexander Zinchenko at Arsenal, and done it quite well. And as I've said, he was a beneficiary of Josep Guardiola's sending Cancelo, exiling him, as it were, to Bayern Munich. Not really a comfortable position for him to be playing in as a left back, but he has done okay so far for City, and Koeman seems to like using him for the Netherlands in that role. It is Koeman now threading it through, and in the penalty area. And who else? Who else but the captain? And this is turning into an absolute rout. What was expected to be a tough game in theory has literally seen Koeman's side exposed for their defensive limitations. We're going to take a look at the highlights here. Tchouaméni with a beautiful defensive pass between Timber and Wijnaldum. Muani with an amazing dummy that was that sort of left Timber, completely for dead. And Mbappe versus Célestin in the penalty area. No contest. So a dream start for the new France captain. And Memphis Depay is absolutely livid. And it wasn't Timber, but Geertruida who was left exposed there. And so 21 minutes played. It's France 3, Netherlands 0. Any comments? Understatement of the century. Well, Holland, what can you do from here? I think it's fair to say that France have pretty much underlined themselves as arguably one of the better teams in world football today. And it must be said that even with a few injuries in their squad, they were still able to reach the World Cup final. Of course, they had lost the likes of Kimpembe and Kante and Pogba and Christopher Nkunku, who was an absolute gem of a talent at RB Leipzig, could possibly be joining Chelsea next season. Good luck to him. And of course, this team, with a few exceptions for France, does feature several of the players who started the final. And Kolo Muani didn't start, but he certainly came on and proved himself useful, as did Kingsley Coman. There is, in fact, no Ousmane Dembele in the squad, so some more new faces in. Coman, Griezmann, Koundé, Tchouaméni, who actually missed his penalty in the final, Upamecano, Hernandez, Mbappe, and is back now with Rabiot via Hernandez. Upamecano sends it forward to Mbappe on the left, but pretty poor control from him. Bit of a surprise. Appreciating the effort, and you can see the smile on his face. And it is Geertruida on his debut, who will certainly not want to look back on that goal with any kind of fondness. And so far, the French have literally sliced open the Dutch and have been running rings around them. So Koeman will have a lot of work to do. Xavi Simons, Virgil van Dijk, Geertruida, Yuri Timber, and that is with De Roon, and that is denied by Tchouaméni, who goes forward. Mbappe still on the left. Rabiot, Mbappe, back with Rabiot, Upamecano, Tchouaméni, Hernandez, and back pass again. And it is now with Maignan, who gets it to Ibrahim Konate. Koundé, Coman, who, like Kolo Muani, was a sub in the final. So basically, what happens here is that, basically 7 of the French team started the final at the Lusail Stadium, so it is a pretty strong team. And obviously, with no Denzel Dumfries, the right wing looks perhaps devoid of any kind of dynamism. I think Daley Blind could very well be brought on as a replacement for Kenneth Taylor, who has the ball now, passes it to Nathan Ake. Back with Virgil van Dijk. Urian Timber. Well, actually, that was Geertruida who passes it to Timber now, who gets it to Nathan Ake. And nice attempt there, but a little bit too wide for Xavi Simons' liking, and France can clear their lines with a throw. Plenty of talent on the French bench. I'm not too sure that many of them will be needed to make an immediate impact, certainly not now. And France are looking very ominous indeed, and here is Theo Hernandez down the left, overlapping beautifully. And certainly had an ambitious attempt there to try and either cross it to Kolo Muani, or try and even chip Jasper Cillessen, who literally is all at sea tonight. And eventually that does in fact go behind for a goal kick. And Kolo Muani was in fact protesting, saying, "I was open, you should have given it to me." And of course, with Kolo Muani and Mbappe in the team tonight, certainly plans are in place to try and recreate the magic of Qatar and take them to the Americas in 2026. By which time a lot of the older players may very well have retired. I don't know if Griezmann will be there, but Mbappe surely will be. And will it be a third successive World Cup final? We will have to find out. Back with Maignan, who passes it to, I believe that's Chouameni. Theo Hernandez. That was Rabiot who was back, and it is now played forward to Kylian Mbappe. Beautiful cross into the penalty area. Griezmann receives it. Koundé now. And there's Rabiot. Kanate. Rabiot again. Trying to send it through, but the Dutch are able to head it away, but not very convincingly because the French have it back. Chouameni now. Upamecano. Back to Chouameni. Back to Hernandez. Kolo Muani, Hernandez again. Griezmann. Kolo Muani. Mbappe. We see Mbappe now through to Coman. Koundé on the right. Cross into the penalty area, and Mbappe skies that over. Probably thought he was playing rugby football instead of association football. In any case, that was not only high, but wide. Definitely not handsome. But of course, when you're 3-0 up with half an hour just gone, you can't really complain, can you? Taylor. Back to Timber. And that is Geertruida, who receives it back from, I believe that's Berghaus. It is with Van Dijk now. And it looks as though Geertruida and Timber have changed positions. Xavi Simons. And I think the Dutch are making a change, preparing to bring on Wout Weghorst. this early in the game, it looks as though either one of the Dutch players has had a pretty poor game, or else one of them may be very badly injured. Simons. Depay. Kanate. Tchouaméni. Back with Kanate again. Tchouaméni. Hernandez. Mbappe. Back to Hernandez. And obviously the French are trying to play again from the defense, and that was Rabiot, who was also a part of that passing network. Hernandez back to Upamecano. Kanate. Koundé. Griezmann. Kanate to Rabiot. To Upamecano. Of course, now wearing the number 4 jersey after Raphael Varane's retirement. He wore 18 in Qatar, and this could potentially be dangerous. It is Simons who's run up to the end of it, into the French penalty area, and Maignan doing some excellent work to put Memphis Depay off his stride. You can see there that Simons, with that burst of energy, was able to get it beyond Koundé. Wonderfully weighted pass into the penalty area, but a combination of Upamecano and Maignan combining to put Memphis Depay off his stride. And so Maignan has had a pretty confident game so far. Not made any big saves of note, but certainly asserted himself in the French goal, and certainly will look to be the man to take them forward from the back. And the Dutch have indeed made a change. I think Taylor, who was making his, I don't know if he was making his debut today, I'm going to check that out, but they were thinking of bringing on Wout Weghorst, and I think they've probably made that change. No, it wasn't his debut. He's already earned 3 caps for the Dutch. And so I think it's fair to say that the occasion might have been a bit too much for him. Weghorst is, of course, into the action now. And confirmation of that change, Taylor out, Weghorst in. So Manchester United fans, if you're watching and you think you didn't have much reason to watch, you've got your boy Weghorst in the team. Koundé. Coman. Tchouaméni. Back with Tchouaméni from Mbappe, trying to send Kolo Muani clear. And Muani does some brilliant work there, but Van Dijk able to clean things up. And you can see Kolo Muani picking up where he left off. Geertruida once again really, really having an absolute shocker. And Virgil van Dijk is absolutely apoplectic with his defenders. Might be interesting to see who could possibly replace Geertruida, but at the moment they've got to deal with a cross. Headed back in, supposedly. Yes, so it is a France throw. Upamecano there doing some excellent work to head that back in. Koundé. Rabiot. Coman. And is that going to be another French free kick? Yes, it is. And it's from an almost similar area from which France scored their second. And Weghorst being given a bit of a talking to. Looks as though Weghorst might be the person who will be who could play in defense as well. And it was he who gave away that free kick. So, deja vu for the French again. And the Dutch. We'll see. Well, it's a short free kick to Coman. And an important header away from Weghorst. That's why you need to have a big 2-meter guy in the team. And a nice downward header from Kanate, and Célestin at least preventing an even more embarrassing scoreline. Of course, a decent save to make, but it must be said fairly routine. Pushing it away from goal and away from any French attacker. And that is a French corner, and you just feel that it could happen any minute now. Griezmann, over in, sort of trying to swing that away left-footed, and it was headed out by Upamecano, and France are still all over the Netherlands right now. Another comment. We've got Villa TV in the house. Big up to you, mate. Thank you for joining in. Not too sure there are any players of interest tonight. In fact, I can confirm by taking a look at the squads. Thank God for Wikipedia with the club list. And sadly, no one with the Villa tonight. There are also some other international matches being played, and I will take a look at them right now. But in the meantime, some action on the field. It is the Dutch trying to attack down the right, and it is with Timber who's come in. Weghorst trying to make a nuisance of himself, but Griezmann so far having the better of him. Tchouaméni. Konate, who can now try and drive it out. And it is now with Kolo Muani. It's one-on-one. And some great defending there from Jurrien Timber, who's able to put Kolo Muani off his stride. I think it's fair to say that the weak link in the team really is the debutant Geertruida, whose footwork has looked completely off. Timber doing well to stick with his man. And the subsequent corner comes to nothing, and the Netherlands can try and play out. It is Marta de Roon to Simmons, and Weghorst now very much a part of the proceedings. We'll see what sort of a role he plays. Ake. Depay. Depay versus Simmons. And Griezmann coming in with an interception, but the Dutch can continue their attack. It is now with Simmons on the right, into the penalty area, cleared by Upamecano. And I believe that's Bergwijn who's trying to make something happen. A nice cross into the penalty area, floated in, but a comfortable header by Griezmann. And that should go out for a France throw. And once again, the chance against France goes begging. And other matches in the same group, Gibraltar are 1-0 down to Greece. In Group E, the Czech Republic are 2-0 up on Poland. Wijnaldum actually now down the left, but Koundé able to clear. Griezmann. Konate. Trying to send that forward, but no one will receive that. Faroe Islands 1-0 up against Moldova. Austria under Ralf Rangnick 2-0 up against Azerbaijan. Sweden with Zlatan Ibrahimovic in the squad are 1-0 down against a Belgian team that until recently, of course, was managed by the now Portugal boss, Roberto Martinez. Bulgaria, of course, losing to Montenegro in the earlier kickoff in Group G, and Serbia are 1-0 up against Lithuania. A couple of some friendlies as well. Australia beating Ecuador 3-1, Japan and Uruguay drawing 1-1. South Korea and Colombia playing out a 2-2 draw. Uzbekistan beating Bolivia 1-0, and there is an ongoing friendly between Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. The South Americans are trailing the desert side to the tune of 2-0. And every time the Dutch have had an attack, they've more often than not managed to see that dealt with by the French defense. Maignan really hasn't had a save to make of note. And the Dutch defense, quite frankly, has been caught cold for all three of the goals they've conceded. It'll be interesting to see who could possibly replace Geertruida in the team right now. I would perhaps consider someone like... Malacia is more of a left back. Stefan de Vrij could definitely come on. Maybe he should have started this game. I don't know. But it is the Netherlands who are trying to attack. It is with de Roon. Out to Ake on the left. Floated into the penalty area. And it is eventually retrieved. And Weghorst is in the Dutch penalty area, hoping to receive something, but nothing really coming out of it. Coman passing it back to Rabiot. Back to Coman again. Griezmann. Rabiot. And that is sent out to Mbappe on the left. I don't think he's ever left his position unless necessary. And that is what you would expect from your attackers, not to just go walkabout when you are needed to stay in your place. Upamecano to Maignan. Konate now. Maignan, of course, coming out of his area. Maignan, of course, had a terrible spell where he was out of the Milan team due to injury. And, of course, it was that injury which came out of the French team. And news was that had he been selected in the squad, he would have started the tournament as Didier Deschamps' number 1. Well, France's number 10 is certainly on the prowl. The number 20, Coman, is also trying to help, along with the number 22. Coman up against Timber. And so far, Coman's more than holding his own. Passing it back to Hernandez there. And that is now back with Coman through, I believe that was Chouameni who tried to get in on the act, and it is Chouameni now who will take the French throw. 3 minutes left in the half plus stoppages, and Ronald Koeman will really, really, really have a lot of work to do. Mr. Francis, thank you for joining in. And we've got Hanno with Siu. I mean, Ronaldo wasn't playing. He was playing yesterday, his world record 197th appearance, going one ahead of Kuwait's Badr al-Mutawa and scoring 2 goals, a penalty and a free kick. But it was against Liechtenstein, so let's not start with the GOAT comparisons, yeah? Weghorst trying to get in on the act, but Hernandez coming in, and that is deemed a foul on Hernandez by Weghorst. Konate. Koundé. Back to Maignan. And Upamecano. And obviously the Netherlands were trying to win that back, but Mbappe was unfairly impeded in the process. And the French defense are able to sort of play slowly, just wind down time. They could go for a fourth, though. You just never know. Yerine Timber clearing that away, and that should be a French throw. It's managed to get all the way back into the French half, but the French will not mind. Yeah, you can see all the scarves being waved. And there'll be 1 minute to go plus stoppages, of which I'm certain there won't be too many. Theo Hernandez. Maybe that's the reason why Griezmann dyed his hair, to avoid confusions between him and Theo Hernandez, who don't look too different. Of course, Hernandez is a lot taller, and you can easily discern the number 22 and the number 7. Roughly, if you divide 22 by 7, you get pi, or 3.14 continued. Yep, this is the scoreline as it stands, and the half seems to be petering out. I believe Darun has taken a bit of a hit. He's back up now, but this team looks a little bit disjointed, and so Koeman's going to have to make a lot of changes for the second half. The likes of Geertruida have not really looked comfortable. Timber, Van Dijk, and Ake have certainly looked their part. There will be 1 minute of stoppage time. One would assume that that would be for, I mean, certainly no injuries or any major occurrences, but definitely 1 minute of stoppage time. Koundé heading it to Coman, who tries to weave his way out of the defense. And that will be a Dutch throw. Ake with the throw, Depay trying to connect, and some pretty brave play there from Martin de Roon. Wijnaldum. And a pretty ambitious shot there from Van Dijk. Never going to trouble, well, certainly giving himself some room. Not too sure it took a deflection off Kolo Muani. Well, the referee actually has given a free kick. So, this could very well be the last piece of action in the half. And it's a half in which the Dutch have very much been second best. The French have been like a monkey wrench in their system. No one from the Dutch has come up clutch as of yet. It will be Memphis Depay to take this, and one would assume that it would be a huge blast at goal. Actually, it's floated into the penalty area, and that will be headed behind. Will there be time to take the corner? Nope, that is the end of the half, and what a half it has been. So basically, if you've just joined us, you have been witness to an absolute masterclass of attacking and some pretty shambolic defending. Vice-captain Antoine Griezmann putting the French ahead as early as 2 minutes with an opportunistic strike past Celestin. And it was Pamecano, of all people, from the corner kick who made it 2-0. Some pretty shoddy defensive play there. And some enterprising attacking. A wonderful dummy sold by Randall Kolo Muani, leaving Kylian Mbappe, the French captain, alone in the penalty area. And all he had to say was merci beaucoup, and his teammates said, je vous en prie. So at half-time, it is France 3, Netherlands 0. Griezmann 2 minutes, Upamecano on 8 minutes, and Kylian Mbappe on 21 minutes. And this is, in fact, quite disappointing because if we, I'm sure a lot of expectations were that the Dutch would provide a bit of a fight, but when you think about it, obviously with Denzel Dumfries not in the squad, it means that the much-feared 5-3-2 formation couldn't be played. And certainly with Daley Blind and Dumfries making magic down the wings, it lent another dimension into the attack, and the three centre-backs worked quite well. This is an occasion where having five at the back can tend to be quite effective as long as you have some tight defence in the middle and a couple of good wing backs. In fact, Gareth Southgate would normally apply that system with Kieran Trippier and Luke Shaw as his wing backs, with Stones, Maguire, and Walker playing in the centre. When it comes off, it looks really good, but when it doesn't come off, it looks very clunky and disorganized. And sometimes as a coach, you've got to know when you can use that. And the answer is simple. You've got to have the players for that. And we've got Blue Terrier 19 in the building. Good evening to you, mate. It's not Hanno, it's Manny here tonight. And I think you were probably, just trying to greet Hanno at the moment. Now, I will be more than happy to put this link in the chat, although I'm pretty certain that Hanno has turned on the subscribers only mode. But if any of you would like to join in and have your say, here is the link. StreamYard.com/Victor India Golf Golf Zulu Yankee 8 X-Ray India 2. That's Vigzy 8XI2. And so you really have to ask, what now for the Dutch? What do they do? What can they possibly do to try to turn the tide? France once again have played their effective 4-2-3-1 system. 7 of the guys start at the final. 2 of them came on as substitutes. And the only people who weren't really involved, if memory serves me right, were Koundé, Kanate, Upamecano, Hernandez, Tchouaméni, Rabiot, Griezmann, Mbappe, Colomwani, Coman. I mean, all 10 outfielders were in the squad, but Man was the only one who wasn't there. And so it was Kanate, who I don't think received an opportunity to play a part in the final, although I could be wrong. I want to just check that. He was, of course, a part of the squad, and he wore the number 24 jersey, which has now been updated to number 13. He did actually come on in the 113th minute as a replacement for the now retired Raphael Varane. And such is the level of attacking talent in the squad that if you take a look at the French squad at the moment, and I will share the squads, they do have some pretty good options that you could, in fact, bring off the bench. As mentioned, of course, it is Samba and Areola who are the reserve keepers. Samba, pardon me, please. Samba expected to play the role of understudy to both Maignan and Areola. And I did mention that Benjamin Pavard, with 47 caps, was one of the stars of France's campaign in 2018, which they won, but was benched after the first match in first 1 or 2 matches in Qatar in favour of Jules Koundé, and hasn't really been in favour since, although he is still in the squad. Axel Disasi, young defender who replaced Presnel Kimpembe in the squad. And this gentleman over here, Todibo, who I'm pretty certain wasn't in the squad. Theo Hernandez was in the squad along with his brother Lucas, but I think Lucas's knee injury has put him out of contention somewhat. Another interesting name, of course, the likes of Jordan Veretout, who was in the squad as well. I'm pretty certain Youssouf Fofana was there, along with Eduardo Camavinga. Kefren Turam is brother of Marcus, son of Lian, and he finds his way into the squad, could make his debut later on tonight. And of course, Olivier Giroud can come off the bench if they ever need any extra goals. I don't think they would. Marcus Thuram, Moussa Diaby, and that completes your French squad. As for the Netherlands squad, well, with Geertruida not having the best of games, I think Stefan de Vrij might have to come on. I certainly wouldn't want to see Malacia or Blind on because they wouldn't really help solve the problem that much. Although it could very well be that Blind or Malacia could come on for Ake if he feels a little bit tired, or it could very well be that one of them could come on for Geertruida and push Ake back into the centre where he looks a lot more comfortable. Wijnaldum and Berghuis and Simmons have done their best so far. Martin de Roon has tried to help make things happen as more of the defensive midfielder, but certainly someone like a Gravenberch could be expected to come on along with Davy Klaassen, who was also in the squad in Qatar. And up front, only 4 strikers sort of tells you that Koeman's a little bit defensive in his approach. Certainly middle heavy with 8 midfielders in the squad. Weghorst and Depay are expected to play. Could very well be that with Weghorst coming on, it could sort of transition into a 4-4-2. Daniel Malen and Brian Brobby, not Bobby, Brobby, complete the bench. Brobby, in fact, is also uncapped and could make a debut tonight. Will he? We shall see. And yeah, all good, mate. Thank you for coming in. I was on Ryan Mather's watch along for the Italy-England game. I think I saw you in the chat. I will probably put the link in the chat close to the end of the game if any of you want to come on and have your say. Actually, the link is in the chat, just a reminder. I believe it's subscribers mode only, according to Hanno's settings, so you can just click the link and come on in. Or if the link is invisible, I will post it on the YouTube video. Hanno says, big up Blue Terrier. The levels, yep, absolutely right. We've got Craig Malloy in the chat. Well done to Lionel Messi, who scored his 800th career goal in his 1017th game. That was the friendly between Argentina and Panama. A goal scorer who has 350 plus assists in those games as well. 1,153 goal contributions. Won everything, unlike Ronaldo. And we may never see a footballer like him again. I think France's captain might have something to say about that. Certainly, he's a fine goal scorer, but also lends a lot to the attack. And it will remain to be seen how he evolves as captain of France, given this responsibility. Okay, so peeps, I am about to just grab a little snack, and I will be back in about 60 seconds. Well, as it turns out, I've got a snack. Some delicious tandoori chicken right here. And a nice drink to wash it all down. It's not alcoholic. I can give you my word on that. Everyone drink responsibly. And okay, we should be back. So apparently microphone issues were the issue. Whatever. But as I said, I do have some delicious tandoori chicken right here, just one piece left, and a nice drink to wash it down. It's an energy drink, non-alcoholic. So you will never ever see me drink any alcohol on one of these streams. We must consume responsibly, and I definitely have no intention of doing anything to jeopardize the nature of this video. I certainly wouldn't want to see Hanno get demonetized in any way. And it will be interesting to see what sort of changes Koeman makes. Certainly defensive changes are in order. The midfield might need a little bit of sprucing up. And I think it's fair to say that the experiment of trying to use Jurrien Timber and Nathan Ake as fullbacks probably should be ended. I know that Ake is playing that way under Guardiola, and it is, for what it's worth, effective. But Manchester City and the Netherlands national team are Chalk and cheese, two different entities. As for France, no real changes need to be made. They are playing quite superbly. Maybe a few late changes, some caps for Giroud, maybe an opportunity to score another goal. Does he bring off Jasper Cillessen in a huge show of distrust? We will wait and see. We got some comments. Two Blues podcast. Thanks for coming on. Big up Coach's Corner and big up Hanno and yourself each and every time. Thank you very much indeed, mate. Good to have you on. And well, I mean, you haven't watched the game, but it looks like the Netherlands are getting battered. And yes, Van Dijk is playing and he is captaining the Dutch team. And we see the reserves on the field just having a bit of a kickabout while the first teamers are coming up through the tunnel. And the Dutch certainly look shell-shocked. And now is about to address his men. Geertruida is still on. And I don't think either side have looked to make any changes as of yet. We will see what happens, though. Time for a piece of chicken. Now we see Mbappe speaking to his boys. And to answer your question, Two Blues, I think Van Dijk's had a decent game. It was the central defensive partner, Geertruida, who has looked a little bit shaky and out of place. And not too sure that Van Dijk has been able to really marshal his defense that well tonight. And of course, with the former captain, Gini Wijnaldum back, I think Wijnaldum will be expected to play a lot more of a bigger leadership role, but Wijnaldum has also struggled, as have quite a few Dutch players. Nice little banner in the stands there. A selfie with us, please, Captain Kylian. You wish. So France, through Antoine Griezmann, are about to kick off, attacking from right to left. The referee hasn't yet blown his whistle. Any moment now, though. And we are off, and he passes it back to his midfielder. And I believe that was Coman who gets it to Rabiot. It is with Mbappe on the left. Passes it back to Upamecano. Actually, that wasn't Coman. That was Tchouaméni there. My bad. Upamecano sending it forward, but that's not going to trouble anyone. I believe Geertruida it is who can clean it up. In fact, it was effectively Geertruida and Timber who did, in fact, change their positions. Timber is coming to the center, and Geertruida is now on the right. Foul there by Xavi Simons on Tchouaméni. Ibrahim Konate passes it to his central defensive partner, Upamecano. Theo Hernandez being chased by Berghaus, but not really made to look uncomfortable. Konate receives it from Maignan, passes it to Upamecano. And I will have to make sure I change the banner, but I'm on it. And the French are now causing a lot of problems. Griezmann looking very dangerous indeed. But the Dutch defense this time have been able to stand firm. But here's Rabiot now down the left. Gets it to Mbappe, who's just inside the penalty area. He scored from a similar area in the World Cup, but a combination of Jurrien Timber and Jasper Cillessen there preventing him from adding to that tally. And you can see what a nuisance Mbappe is and what a delight he is for the French team, how he's able to get into positions and come up with something. And I think it was really that hat-trick in the final which sort of sealed his position as captain. With Lloris retiring and Varane also not in a position to take up the captaincy with retiring himself, it really had to be Mbappe, although Griezmann might have felt that given his own experience, he should have been at least considered. But so far, I know it's only the first game, but everything looks to be quite harmonious. And for the French, it's very much a case of marchons, marchons, qu'un sang un peu, abreuve nos silons, as is said in the anthem. And I'm not too sure I would like to translate that. My French isn't really that good anyway. It is Colomwani now, who is sort of blocked by Van Dijk, but across into the Dutch penalty area, headed away by Timber, who's looked a lot more accomplished on the ball than Geertruida, it must be said. And still no changes made by Ronald Koeman, which is a bit of a surprise. He needs to show some urgency here. I know that France and Netherlands are in a group with Ireland, and Ireland will, of course, be playing tomorrow. Shout out to Del Boy Gunner and Kyle Walsh Gunner. Two terrific guys, of course. Irish Arsenal fans. You can catch me on Del Boy Gunner TV's call-in shows after every Arsenal game, and you will see Kyle Walsh Gunner there too. And in fact, yesterday was Del Boy Gunner's birthday, so I hope he enjoyed it. And of course, the day before, Ireland were able to win 3-2 against Latvia in a friendly. But there will be some tougher tests, most notably in this group. And Ireland will not look forward to facing either of these teams, much less France. Geertruida, Timber, Van Dijk. And that is now with Memphis Depay up against Jules Koundé. Depay sending a long ball forward, but Hernandez able to head that away. But it is with Weghorst now, who's pretty decent with his feet, probably more proficient with his head, it must be said. Geertruida, Berghuis, De Roon, Berghuis, De Roon. And that is with Van Dijk now. Depay again, hoping to try to get the better of both Koundé and Kingsley Coman on the left. And very much a case of ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If Koundé doesn't stop you, Coman surely must. And that's exactly what happens. It is a French goal kick. And we see some French substitutes warming up, including a certain Monsieur Giroud. Little matter, of course, of being France's all-time record goal scorer, a feat he achieved in the World Cup. There is also, of course, no Karim Benzema, who opted to retire in controversy after not being apparently wanted by Deschamps as a part of the squad. He was a part of the squad, got himself injured, and was apparently not wanted back. And sadly, his international career ended without a World Cup winners' medal or even a World Cup final. Does have a Nations League, which he captained to victory in the final, but also the small matter of more than a few European Cups / Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. The Dutch are able to break away through a combination of Depay and Simons, but Griezmann once again aggressive. It's Tchouaméni now. Wijnaldum not really able to keep with the pace of the game. And Griezmann again now. Colomwani. Unmistakable with his full-sleeved shirt. Mbappe! Straight to the goalkeeper. And of course, these are the three goal scorers up till now. When I change the scoreline, if there is a change in the scoreline, you will see the more recent goal scorer. At the moment, the Dutch have to try and find a way forward. Van Dijk to Timber. Timber and Van Dijk, of course, were two of the mainstays in that three-man Dutch central defence, along with a certain Nathan Ake. I believe it was Matthias de Ligt who played the first match, but was then replaced by Timber. First match, of course, being against Senegal, if I'm not wrong. Martin de Roon. Geertruida. Twisting well and certainly looking a little bit more confident with the ball at his feet. But that should be well, that was somehow kept in, but Rabiot was able to shepherd that away. But the Dutch certainly trying their best to come at the French. De Roon in particular doing a little bit more work, but sadly conceding a throw. And the Dutch have already made one substitution early on in the game. I think Kenneth Taylor was pretty much overawed by the occasion. So it will be interesting to see who Koeman calls on. Geertruida, Van Dijk, Wijnaldum, his predecessor as Dutch captain, who in fact was injured for the World Cup. Otherwise, he would definitely have been in the squad and definitely would have played. Konate. Colin Mwani. Coman. Konate. Back to Maignan, who certainly had a comfortable game tonight in the French goal. Hernandez. Mbappe. And Geertruida over there being a little bit exuberant and sort of sending him to the ground. And you can see how Mbappe was able to use the defender's momentum to draw that foul, if you will. Koeman on the wing trying to make things happen, but Ake cleans up and says, not tonight. Not that it makes much difference tonight anyway. Wijnaldum. Depay. Depay being shielded brilliantly by Griezmann, but somehow finds a way back to Nathan Ake. Van Dijk to de Roon. Timber. Van Dijk. Nathan Ake. Back to Van Dijk. Xavi Simons now sending it forward, but Upamecano able to shield that and pass it back to Maignan. It is with Hernandez now, and you can see a lot more improved sharp play from the Dutch right now, but so far still not able to pierce that four-man French rear guard. Three of whom, of course, were starters in the final. The other one came on in the 113th minute for the fourth starter. The now retired Manchester United and former Real Madrid defender Rafael Varane. And I think players being stopped for some reason. Not too sure what the hell's going on there. Pardon my language, of course. Well, it looks as though there might have been a ball thrown or some object thrown. I'm not too sure what's going on. Yeah, the Dutch players are coming forward. I think he's... Well, with the television on mute, you can't really hear what's going on, but I think he's... Has he awarded the Dutch a free kick? Oh, yeah. Oriane Tchouameni inexplicably picking the ball and throwing it away, and we see Monsieur Wenger in the stands. Sadly, no Arsenal players in the squad tonight. No room for William Saliba for France. And certainly no Dutch players playing for Arsenal, of course. So rather inexplicably, in a rather absurd piece of play, Chouameni has given away a free kick. So this could very well be the first test that Maignan will have to face. Outside the penalty area, there's, I believe, Berghaus and Depay are standing over that. Magnan's organising his wall. And so what does Depay do? There is, of course, a player on the ground, so he will have to try and get it up and over. Can he get it past the AC Milan goalkeeper wearing the number 16 tonight? Koeman on the ground as a sort of buttress behind the defensive wall. It is Depay, and well, it was a very unconvincing save that from Maignan because it went through the wall and sort of went straight at him, but instead of catching it, you could see he sort of somehow alley-ooped it over the bar. Could very easily have been a goalkeeping error, but the Milan goalkeeper survives. It's a Dutch corner to be taken left-footed, swinging in, and cleared away. And the French can now break. Kingsley Coman with a huge burst of speed. 2 against 3 almost. Brilliant cutback there. And cross into the penalty area, straight for Kolo Muani, and he blasts it over the bar. Doesn't even force Celestin into making a save. And I think it's fair to say that both Aurelien Chouameni and Mike Maignan are really, really lucky people. But how about this for a burst of speed from Kingsley Coman? King-like, as it were. Absolutely royal. Wonderful cross in, waiting for Kolo Muani to connect it with a sweet touch on the volley. That touch was anything but sweet. Well, again, 3-0 up. Nearly an hour gone. The French can't have any complaints, but the Dutch are starting to come back stronger. And if they get a goal or two, the cat could very well be amongst the pigeons. Ake. Depay. And that should be a French free kick there. Depay impeding Jules Koundé. That will be Upamecano to try and take that forward, but instead he passes it to his central defensive partner, Konate. Takes it forward, and an excellent dummy there from Kingsley Coman. Coman against Ake, and Coman at the moment is skidding Ake right now, and claims for a foul there, but the referee is not interested. Griezmann doing some work trying to intercept it, but at the moment, well, now the Dutch have a free kick awarded against them, but there were some claims for a foul earlier on, and this is the one which caused the free kick. De Roon barging into Rabiot, and when you see that burst of speed from Kingsley Coman, it is very, very difficult for anyone to catch him. Certainly a key component in the French recovery in the World Cup final when he came on along with Kolo Muani for Olivier Giroud and Ousmane Dembele. And so far, Koeman's decision not to make any real changes has paid some dividends so far. I think they're going to look back on that first half and say they were just completely caught cold. But the Dutch are a team not to be messed with. Of course, it does go without saying that the last time the Dutch and the Irish were in a qualifying group for a major tournament, 2002, when Mick McCarthy's boys knocked out Louis van Gaal's men with a 1-0 win at Lansdowne Road, now the Aviva Stadium, and a 2-2 draw at the Amsterdam Arena. So, Del Boy, I don't know if you're watching this, mate, but there is some reason to be a little bit cheerful, if not confident. You do have some history on your side. Mbappe, and Geertruida is able to get the better of him. Geertruida has grown a little bit more in terms of confidence, but this certainly will be a learning experience for him. Definitely a baptism of fire against the World Cup runners-up. Van Dijk. Ake. Depay. Back to Ake. Timber, De Roon, Berghaus, Berghaus on the right side of the field, and playing a role in another Dutch attack that just goes begging. And could there be a substitution being made right now? We will have to see. Going to take a look at this free kick again. I'm not too sure what Mannion was trying to do, really. I think he was hoping to try to sort of catch it along the ground, but maybe it skidded off the turf and went a little bit high. And then not too long after that, Kolo Muani sending that skywards. It's all starting to happen. And this is probably the best half of play, the better half of play in the game today. I know that we had 3 excellent goals, but the Dutch defending at times was absolutely awful. Now they've tightened up. No changes, of course, made by Ronald Koeman. And he probably feels quite strongly that it's a qualification process, a long process. There are more matches to be played, tough matches as well. And maybe this will be a chance for the players he selected to come into their own. And so with Noppert injured and the 3 goalkeepers selected, it could very well be that Celessen might enjoy a nice, charmed final qualification campaign the way Martin Stekelenburg did when he went from being an Ajax reserve to playing for Ajax again after the suspension of Andre Onana. And we very nearly had a goal over there, and we see finally the introduction of Weghorst making a bit of a difference in that the attacks are a lot more forthcoming. But once again, the French defense proving resolute. Stekelenburg, of course, was Ronald Koeman's first choice goalkeeper at Euro 2020. Did decently enough in the group stages, but had a game to forget, really, against the Czech Republic and announced his retirement after that. He had, of course, returned to Ajax after so many years as an unused substitute in the Premier League. Ended up getting his chance to play after Andre Onana's suspension and played a key role as Ajax won the Eredivisie that year, 2021. Ended up earning selection to the squad after Celessen withdrew due to COVID. He was expected to be on the bench in favour of Tim Krul, but instead, actually, it wasn't Koeman who was coach. I believe it was Ronald de Boer who was coach at the time. So that is, I've been going on and on saying that Koeman was coach, but he wasn't. He was supposed to coach. Now I remember he was supposed to coach them for the tournament, but ended up not doing so. And it was de Boer who took that responsibility. And I think, I'm not too sure why the linesman hasn't raised his flag yet, because Muani was at least a little bit offside. But at the moment, well, apparently the linesman didn't consider Kolo Muani to be offside. So it will be a Dutch corner. Griezmann to take this. Left-footed, in-swinger. About 24 minutes to go, plus stoppages. Swing in nicely, and a header from Rabiot over the bar. Nothing much to do about that. Rising high to meet the header, but not getting it on target. And the Dutch are making some substitutions. Martin de Vroon is the first player who will be replaced. And on comes Daley Blind to win his 100th cap as a substitute. France are also making a change. Kingsley Coman will be coming out of the attack. He's certainly run his socks off tonight. His shirt's also torn from the looks of it by Nathan Ake. And it will be Moussa Diaby who comes on in his place. Wearing the number 19 shirt that Karim Benzema wore for the last few years until his sad retirement. And it looks as though it will be Davy Klaassen And number 7, let me see who the number 7 is. Daniel Mallon, who will be coming on. And the substitutions are being hurried up by the referee. It is Xavi Simons and Steven Bergwijn who are coming off. And Davy Klaassen and Daniel Mallon who will be coming on. So not really much a change in formation. I think Mallon and Klaassen will be expected to support Depay up in the middle. Maybe playing more of a retreated role. Geertruida to Van Dijk. Timber. Davy Klaassen on for his 40th cap and Mallon winning his 20th tonight. Van Dijk. Timber. Van Dijk. And it is Blind now who's trying to get into the action. Klaassen has just come in. So we're certainly not going to see the really fast play, dynamic play of the likes of Blind as a wing back. Instead, he's expected to be more of a midfielder, having come in for Martin de Roon. And I think he and Nathan Ake will certainly have some roles to play in terms of trying to provide solidity, but also try and provide a spark to take the team forward. But of course, with the French defense being as effective as they've been tonight, it's not going to be easy. But Mallon there, intercepting an attempted pass forward. And you can see the Dutch midfield starting to get stuck in. Wijnaldum. Timber playing it forward to Weghorst. And that is Mallon up against Theo Hernandez. And that is Timber, sends it through to Weghorst in the penalty area, but that goes off Tchouameni and Maignan is able to claim it. So the best part of 20 minutes left, plus any stoppages. The Dutch have now made 4 substitutions, 3 now to go with 1 in the first half, and that will be a Dutch throw taken very quickly by Daley Blind. It is Blind now who sets Klaassen on his way. Is Klaassen onside? Well, we'll find out, but not able to get in through Tchouameni, and a combination of Diaby and Tchouameni is able to sort of clear it halfway, but not too far, because Ake was able to intercept that. And Ake making a nuisance of himself on the left. Mallon now wins it, and that will be a free kick. So the substitutions working their magic, and that will be a booking. And we can see a lot of purpose over there. Ibrahim Konate with a rather clumsy challenge, really. I mean, you can't even call that clumsy. That was just... I mean, he stuck out his leg over there. That wasn't even clumsy. Memphis Depay, of course, with an amazing record of 43 goals in what is now his 87th cap. A rate of 1 every 2 games. Quite phenomenal, it must be said. And it was his free kick that caused Maignan problems earlier on. What does Maignan do now? Similar formation. Coman on the floor as a buttress. And it is Blind and Depay who are standing over this. A dummy, but Depay sends that into the wall. Depay into the wall. Just writes itself, doesn't it? Klaassen hoping to try to add a bit of class to proceedings. Mallon trying to send it in, but only succeeding in sending that out for a goal kick. And Maignan once again untroubled. So 18 minutes left, plus stoppages, of which there would be at least, I would suspect, 2, maybe 3. Don't know about you, but we'll have to see. Hernandez sending it forward to Mbappe, who was able to evade his defender quite well, but you can see the difference that Blind and Klassen have made to the midfield. There's certainly a lot more attacking, certainly a lot more on the pulse, and able to read the game very well indeed. And Depay now trying to move forward, but just running headlong into the French defense, like the TGV train hitting the buffers almost. And the Dutch, though, are still able to prevent the French from really going far in. Wijnaldum, who's remained on the field, is allowed to play himself back to some time before. And it is now back with Van Dijk, and no stoppage in play. Yuri and Timber can now try and take it forward. Sends it to Malen on the right, who passes it back to Timber, not quite able to evade the care of Theo Hernandez. But it is Depay on D left, who passes it into D penalty area, and that's sent out for a throw. And there will be some more French substitutions made. The one was made earlier, and we could see Giroud coming on for yet another cap. I believe this will be his 121st. But for the moment, it is Kolo Muani now down the left. He's got brilliant defending there by Yuri Timber. He had Timber, of course, sticking to him like glue, and Timber was able to prevent him from threading a pass into that penalty area. A much improved display from the Dutch, deserving of a goal. It certainly won't make any difference to the result, because when you're 3-0 down with about 15 minutes to go, only a miracle can save you. And not even Wout Weghorst, who scored those 2 goals against Argentina, can be expected to save them. I always believe that the fact that Argentina allowed the Dutch and the French to come back from 2-0 down in those games was an example of poor management and poor tactics, really, by Lionel Scaloni. But as people would say, it doesn't matter. Scaloni's got the trophy. And in addition to Olivier Giroud, it is the number 6, Youssouf Fofana, who will be coming on. And I believe Pavard was also having the camera focused on him as one of the subs. He could very well be coming on for what could very well be his 48th cap. The Bayern Munich defender, not really regarded highly by Deschamps these days, but still an important part of the squad. It is, in fact, the first change actually sees Aurélien Tchouameni coming off for the Real Madrid midfielder, Eduardo Camavinga, number 21. Those unmistakable dreadlocks and the number 21 jersey. I believe he wears 12 for Madrid. Bit of a reversal there. And Youssouf Fofana will be coming on as well. I believe he'll be replacing Antoine Griezmann, who has taken to his responsibility as vice captain like a duck to water. Certainly proved how important he is to the team. He comes off for Youssouf Fofana. No Wesley still. And Kolo Muani, who's certainly had a fine game, running really hard. Not quite had his shooting boots on tonight. He comes off for France's all-time record goal scorer, Olivier Giroud. And you sort of feel that at 3-0 with not even 14 minutes left, in fact, barely over 13 minutes left, this match has got a little bit more of a ceremonial feel for the French. But right off the Dutch at your peril, they were able to come back and come back quite hard. Of course, every time they've done so, they've found the French defense in impeccable form. Although Mike Maignan could very nearly have cost his side a goal with what was a very, very, very fortunate save. And the less said about Orien Chouameni's brain freeze, the better. And Cillessen passes it straight to a French attacker. I'm not too sure who that was, but I believe that was Koundé who tried to send it forward. And there's with Mbappe now! Well, Cillessen redeems himself with a more than decent save, but he will not want to look back on that clearance with any kind of pride. I suppose Cillessen would probably end up getting something like a 6, maybe, a very shaky performance on his return to the Dutch team. Certainly should have done a lot better for the second goal from Upamecano. And that clearance, which very nearly led to Mbappe getting a second, was not the best. But, I mean, the shot really was straight at Cillessen, so you'd expect him to make a save like that, really. And the foul there by Blind on Kanate. Yellow card for the 100-cap veteran. Theo Hernandez. It is Upamecano trying to take that forward. Nice little pass there from Giroud to Mbappe. And unfortunately, it was Camavinga, I think, who slipped. And claims, and that will in fact be a Dutch free kick. Depay hoping to take that as quickly as possible. Ends up finding Wijnaldum, who passed it to Geertruida. Passed it back to him. Malen on the right, back to Wijnaldum. And a long pass back to Yuri and Timber. Virgil van Dijk. Depay. Blind. Ake. Timber. Good pass forward there, and Depay is able to thread it through. It is with Daniel Milan, and he's certainly done some great work in going past the defender, but I think he took it a bit too far. Trying to play that inside the penalty area, it was past Upamecano, left him for dead, and Maignan there with an unorthodox use of his leg. Would have preferred if he had caught it, but in any case, it's not a Dutch goal yet, but a corner taken by Depay, headed away by Giroud, headed back in by Wijnaldum. And once again, headed it, not really a header so much, but sort of left for Maignan to this time gather it with no real fuss. Maignan and Giroud, of course, are teammates at AC Milan, along with a certain Theo Hernandez. Geertruida, Timber, Blind, Van Dijk. Just gone past the 80-minute mark, so there are about 9.5 minutes to go, plus stoppages. Blind receiving it from Ake. And that is Wijnaldum trying to pull the strings in the center of the midfield. And some decent work by Timber, but probably overreached himself. And it is with Camavinga right now, who will try to... We certainly wanted to come away with it, but ended up having to pass it back to Upamecano. Camavinga also, I believe, came on as a substitute in that World Cup final. Maignan chipping it to Hernandez, sending it forward. Mbappe, and some great work from Timber there. Passes it to Wijnaldum. Timber doing his bit to get the ball off Mbappe. And you could see that the French have started to, I wouldn't necessarily say grow a bit complacent, but they have maybe tired a bit and maybe gone a little bit, lackadaisical. And the Dutch are certainly looking to try to score one goal to take something back with them. Playing for pride is really all you can do when you're 3-0 down with 8.5 minutes to go. It's been an improved showing, but you really have to imagine that it's too little too late. Any comments? Not too sure what you're trying to get at there. Hello. Good to have you in the chat anyway. And it is still 3-0. Aki trying to send it forward, but I don't know if Malin will get to that. It is Upamecano who sends it out for a throw. And you can see the substitutions have helped sort of tighten up the midfield and add a little bit more in terms of bite to it. It is Geertruida now, who's certainly improved his showing from the first half. Wijnaldum, Malin rather, and Theo Hernandez closes the door on him, saying, "No, no, monsieur, no aujourd'hui." But it's Dutch taken by Geertruida all the way back to Urian Timber. Sends it to Wijnaldum. Geertruida has now gone down the right and wins a throw off for Hernandez. A throw by Geertruida is in the penalty area. Weghorst is able to get onto it. And some good work by Weghorst. Does he keep it in? Well, he does, in fact, win a corner. And you can see here, this is where the value of a big target man like Weghorst is. Very big, very strong, able to win a corner. I think the French were claiming that that it came off Weghorst last, but the linesman certainly didn't agree. A good defensive header there from Giroud, and Wesley Fofana is able to control that. But Blind picks his pocket. I mean, his name is, of course, spelled Blind, but he definitely has good footballing vision, does Danny Blind's son. Nice piece of trivia in Dutch. If a name ends in ND, it is pronounced NT at the end. So it's not blind or even blind, it's blint. And it is Blint who threads it through to Malin, and he is pushed from behind. I believe there is a case for a free kick being awarded, but the referee isn't interested. And clearly, Daniel Malin was not happy with that little piece of play there from Theo Hernandez. And certainly something to ponder for Ronald Koeman in his first stint, his first match back, rather. I mean, certainly not his first stint, but definitely his first match in his third stint. A wonderful through pass into the penalty area. And, well, offside has been given, so it won't count. I think Moussa Diaby there was looking to try to be a hero, but not quite timing his run very well. And you can see there a combination of Ake and Van Dijk doing brilliantly to spring the offside trap. And Moussa Diaby fell into it. So, unfortunately, no fourth goal. No goal for Moussa Diaby. And the referee trying to urge play to continue. Well, there's a player on the floor. It is Geertruida, who, as I said, had a very rough first half, but has certainly improved in the second. And if he goes off, if he has to go off with an injury, it'll be interesting to see who comes on for him for the past few minutes. Or maybe he'll feel as though his race has already been run. And will there be time for France to make a substitution? We're going to have to see. A huge selection of French flags waving in the stands. And the linesman over there saying, "Sorry, Moussa, no goal for you tonight. You went a bit too far forward for my liking." And it is Tyrell Malacia who'll be coming on. Now, Malacia normally plays as a left back for Manchester United. So I just wonder what sort of a role he'll be able to play in that defense. And he's got some work to do because Mbappe has the ball. Mbappe is able to shrug off his man. Great stuff again from the France captain. And cool as you like. That is merci et bonne nuit. It's quite clear to me that this Dutch team has a lot of work to do defensively. And I believe it was Depay there who should be blamed for a pretty poor piece of play there. Mbappe doing some work to shake off the impressive Jurien Timber. Had Danny Blind flat on his backside. Pass the lesson. 4-0. And as I've said, it is merci et bonne nuit. The reason why I say bonne nuit is, of course, technically that is what you say for good night, although that probably is when you go to sleep. I believe if you want people to leave a hall, maybe it's bonsoir. I'm not too sure. There is a change for France. It is Adrien Rabiot, whose work is done for the night. And, ooh, man, very, very unprofessional from my part. I do apologize. And it is Catherine Thuram who will be coming on in his place. Marcus's brother, Lillian's son. They certainly make them quite tough in the Mbappe, in the Thuram household. That is reflective of it. Obviously, I do remember the other goal scorers and when they scored, but this is reflecting the current state of play. And so all the Netherlands can do now with normal time about to run out is look for a consolation, and a free kick will be awarded. A very clumsy foul there. This time, Malen gets the free kick he deserves, and Theo Hernandez gets the booking he deserves. Barging into Malen's knee, sending him flying. Very painful. Très mal. Very bad. "15 seconds left of normal time, and we will find out how much time will be added on. And the French fans are certainly enjoying it, but the Dutch fans, well, a lot of work to be done. And Koeman's now going to have to figure out the best defensive system for his team. I think he is going to have to look at who will better fit his system. At the moment, it is a free kick on the right. It is Depay and Blind who are standing over it. Will it be Blind to swing it in, or will it be Depay to swing it out? It is Blind who will try to swing it in, but that was hit with a bit too much power, never swinging in. Didn't really have any kind of subtlety to it. And we are into the first of 4 added minutes. Mr. Mather, hey, good to see you, mate. Listen, the link's in the chat. I believe it's in subscribers only mode, but if you would like to come on and have a bit of a chin wag after the game, I don't know if you're watching it, but I would like to hear what you have to say. I also made sure I bigged you up for that terrific watch along you did for the Italy-England game. It was wonderful to catch up with you there. And, you know, the scoreline says it all. France are just continuing where they left off from the World Cup. Injured players or no injured players, changes or no changes, they look absolutely, imperious. And as for the Dutch, well, sadly, like some of their cheese, they've got a bit of holes in them. Blind, Wijnaldum, Malen, Weghorst, hoping to try and lay it back for someone, but Camavinga said no, passes it back to Maignan, who sends it forward. And Giroud, who hasn't really been involved in the game too much, except maybe defensively, try and send it forward. But it is now with Kefren Thuram, who can try and shoot, but definitely not the best of shots. A better option would have been to pass the ball to Mbappe, who was on his left. But again, 4-0 up, you can't really complain. Some terrific touches from the younger son of Lilian, giving himself room to shoot between Timber's legs, but well within Jasper Cillesen's range. And I think it's Marcus who's looking on there, watching and saying, I want to get a chance to play in this campaign soon too. It is Malacia, the number 16. Blind. Ake. And all the Dutch can do is try and see if they can score. I'm pretty certain that if France do concede a goal near the end, it will be something they'll be very angry with, because all that hard work, putting the Dutch to the sword, and they can't even get a clean sheet. Malacia, the Manchester United defender, and nothing really much in that pass. I don't know what he was looking for. We are now at the final minute of added time. Another reminder, this is the link if any of you are watching. I will, in fact, possibly, go on to the YouTube video and maybe click it there. Klaassen. And that should be a free kick awarded to the Dutch for a foul on Weghorst, and it is. 30 seconds. And a penalty has been awarded. Well, we've got some late drama at the Stade de France. And well, we're going to find out what's happened there, but certainly a handball by Upamecano. And the referee having no hesitation in pointing to the spot. So it looks as though the Dutch will be able to come away from this game with a consolation goal in the form of a penalty. And this might be the last piece of action in the game altogether. Maignan also standing close to the spot along with Depay. A yellow card for the Bayern Munich defender. And so we've just gone 30 seconds beyond the final minute being elapsed. But will the Dutch be able to take a goal back with them? Memphis Depay against Mike Maignan. 87 games. Will this be his 44th goal? And it's saved by Maignan! Well, that wasn't really the best of penalties, but Mike Maignan there ensures that the French will keep a clean sheet. And you can see that Depay didn't really look too confident. It certainly wasn't a very good penalty, and it was sort of straight at Maignan there. Easy save, really. And all I can say is that the French look definitely imperious. I think Magnan's going to be given a lot of credit for that save, but to be honest, wasn't exactly a very big save. But the celebrations can begin. France have started their campaign in a very, very, very convincing manner indeed. And I'm just going to update the final score here. And it is Kylian Mbappe on the 21st and 87th minute. Basically putting some gloss on the score there to... Yep, this is now the updated ticker. A game to forget, really, for the Dutch and the Dutch defence, and certainly a lot of work to be done by Ronald Koeman in order to make sure that the team can recover from this. They are, of course, in the same group with the Republic of Ireland, among other teams, and Greece and Gibraltar have also played a game earlier today. In fact, Greece ended up running out 3-0 winners over Gibraltar. In other matches, the Czech Republic beat Poland 3-1. Moldova and the Faroe Islands played out a 1-1 draw. Australia under Ralph Rangnick beating Azerbaijan 4-1. Belgium beating Sweden 3-0. Not a very happy result for the Swedes, who normally are a much tougher team than that. Not too sure if Zlatan Ibrahimovic got a run out, but we will find out later. Bulgaria and Montenegro playing out a tight 1-0 win for the Montenegrins in the early kickoff. And Serbia beating Lithuania 2-0. And the qualifiers continue tomorrow, of course. In Group A, Scotland will be playing Cyprus at Hampden Park, and Spain will be taking on Norway. Certainly a new-look team under the stewardship of Luis de la Fuente, who ended Sergio Ramos's career in a very ruthless, certainly, wouldn't say ruthless, but certainly decisive manner. Armenia starting off in Group D, and Croatia, who were finalists in 2018 and semi-finalists in 2022 of the World Cup, but who haven't quite been able to get their act together in the European Championship as of yet, will be opening their campaign against Wales. Kickoff will be at 7:45 GMT, and of course on Sunday it will be the start of BST back in the UK. In Group I, it will be Belarus against Switzerland, Israel against Kosovo, and Andorra against Romania. I'm pretty certain that Ireland should be having a game, and it turns out Ireland, in fact, will be playing France on Monday, so that is a game which will really carry a lot of significance. It will be at the Aviva Stadium, formerly known as Lansdowne Road. And of course, on Sunday, England play the Ukraine, Italy play Malta, and Northern Ireland, fresh from their win over San Marino, will be looking to continue the good work against Finland. But for now, though, this is the headline. France convincingly winning 4-0, laying down their marker, and they are going to be an absolutely tough team to even try and secure a draw against or even beat. Will the Irish have a prayer on Monday? I'm not too sure. Well, it doesn't look as though there are many people who will be able to join in, although the link has been posted in. I'm not too sure I've had anyone coming in the chat, no one in the studio. So I will be wrapping things up by saying thanks a lot for joining in. A sort of a last-minute decision to do a watch-along. I had hoped that this would be a game of better quality, but really it was men against boys. The Dutch team pretty much in transition, as it were, and they are going to have to really do a lot of hard work to make sure they can recover from this. Certainly the game against Ireland will be a very interesting game, and I think it's fair to say that on the basis of this game, with the way their defence is, Ireland could fancy their chances, if only their own defence wasn't really such a problem, as was seen against Latvia. And there will be some changes. It will be Gavin Bazunu in goal instead of Queeman Kelleher. We should see John Egan and Seamus Coleman coming back into the picture. And from what I see of the attack, the likes of Will Smallbone and Evan Ferguson and certainly Callum O'Dowda and Matt Doherty had wonderful games as the wing-backs. And, we saw Chidozie Ogbene coming on and making an impact. Mikey Johnson also coming on and showing some really good touches. As for England against the Ukraine, I don't see too many changes. If it's a qualifier, you've got to play your best team every time, unless it may be against a very weak team when you should surely be able to rotate. But I don't see too many issues. I do not want to see Calvin Phillips play. He looked completely out of shape and out of pace against the Italians. And maybe we could see Jordan Henderson coming on in his place. I do hope that Jude Bellingham isn't really struggling too much with an injury. It will be hard to think of who could replace him, but we will see what happens. For now, though, this is the story. Full time from the Stade de France in Saint-Denis. It is France 4, the Netherlands 0. France up and running, the Netherlands with a lot of work to do. And with that, I bid you adieu. Big up to everyone who's come in the chat. Thanks a lot to Hanno for being a part of the chat, and also, as always, maintaining this channel as well. Always happy to do some work for this channel for him and with him. Chelsea fan, thanks a lot for joining in. Bailey, good to have you on. Blue Terrier, thank you for coming in as well. Craig AFC, wonderful to see you. Two Blues Podcast. And of course, finally, Ryan Mather. People like you who join in the chat and leave some comments are the ones who make this video what it is and contribute to the video and basically make sure the video is as good as it is. And again, I'm sorry that the ticker wasn't running, but this is a reminder. Do like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell button for notifications, and do follow Hanno on Instagram, Hanno_coach_corner. On Twitter, it is Hanno70830030. And we will be bringing you some more quality content on this channel, maybe another qualification match, we will see. That will be decided soon enough. And we will keep you posted with regard to whatever more content we will be providing. For now, though, all I can say is have yourselves a good night. Thank you very much indeed for joining in. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do, or Hanno wouldn't do, or anyone else associated with this channel wouldn't do. But for now, I bid you adieu, and I need to get myself out of here.